interesting. Well, don't keep me in suspense.
Oh, well done, darling. The very word I was looking for.
I don't follow.
Uses pens for hanging matter.
I still don't follow.
Suspense. It's an anagram of uses pens.
You're doing the crossword.
Trying to. I was stuck.
Oh, all the pointless. Albert, have you seen the duster for the... dictaphone?
Your top drawer, miss.
A mule that loses its footing.
Haven't you anything better to do?
As titular head of a detective agency in the midst of an apparent, and I hope temporary, fall in the crime rate, the answer, my darling wife, is... No, I haven't anything better to do.
You sound like Lloyd George answering questions in Parliament.
The eloquence was there, I grant you, but not the Welsh accent. What's the matter?
I'm not in a good mood today.
Oh, poor old thing. Why not?
It was this morning that Janet and I were supposed to go to the Wordsworth Gallery, and, well, I was looking forward to that.
Oh, yes, the exhibition. There was something about that in the paper.
Oh, have you found him?
No, not yet. Here we are. A Scotland Yard spokesman said that the 18th century watercolours by Matthew Herrick, stolen earlier this week from the Wordsworth Gallery in Albemarle Street, are believed now to be in Paris, in the hands of unscrupulous private collectors.
Is that all it says?
Yes. Oh, apart from the fact that the gallery is offering a £5,000 reward.
So what are we waiting for?
Go to Paris, you mean? Find the paintings and bring them back? A blaze of publicity for Blunt's brilliant detectives?
Exactly.
No, my sweet. I mean, have you any idea how many private art collectors there probably are in Paris? No, it's out of the question. You leave me to keep the grey matter ticking over by finishing the crossword.
And what am I supposed to do?
Well, to impress our client, you're supposed to be practicing how to be the perfect secretary.
And how do I do that?
By carrying out lesson number 1.
Which is?
Learning how to sit on my knee.
That's the first good idea you've had all week.
Lucky you wasn't an intruder.
Why's that?
These ends, deadly. Touche. Now, sir, was there something?
This is Blunt's Brilliant Detectives, isn't it?
It was the last time I looked. Yes, it is, sir.
Splendid. Then might I see Mr. Blunt?
Have you an appointment, sir?
Well, not really, no. I just thought I'd toddle in and... No go, is it?
Mr. Blunt is engaged on a very important conference at present, sir.
Oh, Mr. Blunt.
Oh, Miss Robinson.
Oh, what a pity.
There could be a chance, sir. Might only take a few minutes.
Oh, if I really was the perfect secretary, do you know what I'd do now?
No. What?
Lipstick.
What?
Ah, you're in luck, sir. The conference seems to be over.
Oh, jolly good.
Step this way, sir.
Oh, certainly, Major General.
Mr.
Goodbye.
Montgomery Jones, sir.
Ah, good day, Mr. Montgomery Jones. Thank you, Albert.
Do I take it you are Mr. Blunt?
You do. Take it. A seat?
Oh, thank you.
Now, what can I have the pleasure of doing for you? Oh, my confidential secretary, Miss Robinson. You may speak quite freely before her. I take it that this is a delicate matter.
In a way.
You're not in any trouble of any kind yourself, I hope?
Oh, rather not, no.
No. Well, perhaps you will state the facts in your own words.
I don't know how to set about it. It's a dashed odd sort of thing, really. Just... well, a silly sort of joke, that's all.
Someone has played a joke on you of a mysterious nature?
Well, not exactly.
No. Well, take your time.
You see, it was at dinner. I sat next to a girl.
Yes?
Well, she was... I really can't describe her, but she was simply one of the most... She's an Australian, been over here for some time. She's simply game for anything. I absolutely can't tell you the effect she had on me.
We can imagine, Mr. Jones.
I mean, I'd known her vaguely for some time. Same circles and all that, but... Well, the whole thing came as an absolute shock to me. I mean, I sat beside her at dinner and slap out of the blue.
Your whole world had changed?
Well, that's absolutely what it was like. You put it awfully well. Only, you know, I fancy she didn't think much of me. You men think it, but I'm not terribly clever.
You mustn't be too modest.
Oh, I do realize I'm not much of a chap. That's why I feel I've got to pull this thing through. It's my only chance.
I'm sure we wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you, Miss Robinson. You see, she is such a good sport that she would never go back on her word.
Naturally. Well, I don't see exactly what you want us to do.
Oh, Lord, haven't I explained?
No, you haven't.
Ah, well, it was like this. Una, that's her name, Una Drake. I'd been trying all sorts of ploys to, you know, catch her interest. Absolutely no success. And then somehow we got onto the subject of detective stories, and I found out that she was just as keen about them as I am.
Oh, is that so?
Rather. We got to talking about one story in particular, and I said... she said... no, I said... now, which of us was it?
Oh, never mind which.
Righto. Well, this story all hinges on an alibi. So we got to talking about alibis and faking them. And I said that faking
Oh, no,
alibis...
no, she said.
No, it really wasn't. I said that faking alibis would be a jolly difficult thing to do. Una disagreed.
It would only take a bit of brain work.
Rather more than that, I think.
Well, it's obvious, Monty.
Not at all. In the book, the chap thinks he's got away with it. But he had to ask other people to lie for him. They got caught out. That'll always happen.
Not necessarily, not if they believe they're telling the truth.
Come again.
Well, you can't catch out someone who backs up a story unless he knows his lie.
Rot. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Una, but it's too difficult to fake a convincing alibi. It just can't be done.
I'm sure I could do it.
Oh, I say.
I'll make you a sporting offer. What do you bet that I can produce an alibi that nobody can shake?
Anything you like.
If I were you, I wouldn't risk too much. It's an odds-on chance for me.
Don't be so sure of that. Supposing you lose, and I ask you something, will you pay up?
I come from a gambling family. I don't welsh on my bets.
Well, if I win, I'll ask you to marry me.
Very well, you're on. And if I win, we'll never see each other again.
So, you see, it's up to me. It's the only chance I have with her.
You're sure that you'll stick to her end of it?
Completely.
It is a very curious proposition.
But you must be doing this sort of thing all the time. Investigating fake alibis and seeing where they fall down.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we do. A lot.
I know you're very busy, but, well, I am prepared to pay all necessary whatnots.
What?
Knots. What knots? That'll be all right. I'm sure Mr. Blunt will take on the case.
Well, perhaps we can fit it in. But what precisely am I to investigate?
Here it is. This is what she sent me. I am sending you proof. I was in two distinct places at one and the same time. According to one story, I had dinner alone at the Bon Ton restaurant in Soho, went to the Duke's Theatre, then had supper with a friend, Mr. Le Marchant, at the Savoy.
But I was also staying at the Castle Hotel in Torquay that evening, and only returned to London on the following morning. You have to find which of the two stories is the true one and how I managed the other.
You see?
Yes. It's a very refreshing little problem. Very naive.
Here is Una's photograph. You'll want that.
Ah, thank you. May I have the lady's full name and address?
Una Drake.
Una Drake.
She lives at 180 Clarges Street. Oh, it's such a relief that you've taken it on. How will you set about it?
Well, I'm sure Mr. Blunt will want me to check everything, and it's nearly lunchtime, so I could start at the Bon Ton restaurant.
I say, that's quick. I'd love to see how you work. Why don't I take you to lunch, Miss Robinson?
What a lovely idea, Mr. James.
Monty. Everyone calls me Monty.
Thank you, Monty.
Jolly good.
Yes, thank you. We'd be delighted to accept.
Oh. Jolly good.
Very cosy. Very French. I've always wanted to try this place.
Yes.
Quite fashionable, really. A lot of the younger set come here. Oh, how are you, Henri?
Ah, Monsieur Monty, bonjour.
Bonjour to you too, what?
How nice to see you again. And you, Monsieur Beresford, soyez le bienvenu. Welcome back. Mademoiselle.
Beresford. I thought your name was Blunt.
Beresford's a sort of alias I use sometimes when I'm on a case.
I say.
And I thought you'd never been here before.
Oh, yes, but not for some time. I used to pop in now and then, in my salad days.
That can't be too long ago. Your boss is a bit of a dark horse, Miss Robinson. I'd wager he's one for the ladies. You should keep an eye on him.
I intend to.
All over and done with.
You can't fool us. I should have thought. Well, maybe there's someone you'd like to have invited to join us.
No. No, I assure you, no one at all.
Oh, what a pity, Mr. Blunt. That would have been fascinating.
Rather.
Let's get back to business, shall we? Henri,
Monsieur.
could you spare us a moment? Do you recognize this young lady?
Mais oui, Mademoiselle Drake. Elle est charmante, tout à fait charmante.
Then perhaps you remember if she dined here last Tuesday evening by herself.
Oh, she's not often by herself, but sometimes she is. Let me think. Last Tuesday. On Tuesday, dining alone. I think perhaps she was, but she is here often. I cannot be certain.
Perhaps one of your waiters might remember.
No, I always serve her myself. Tuesday. Yes, I think maybe she was here. But on the other hand, maybe not.
Well, that wasn't very conclusive.
So she lives in Clarges Street?
Yes, she shares a flat with another girl, Marjorie something.
Oh, well, that's it then. As soon as we've eaten, I'll pop round and have word with Miss Drake myself.
Oh, no. That's the one thing you mustn't do. Well, I mean, if she found out that you and Mr. Blunt were helping me, after all, it's my brain power that's being tested.
Yes.
She might call the whole doodah off.
Oh, yes.
Where did she go from here?
Oh, just a minute. She enclosed the counterfoil of the ticket. The Duke's Theatre.
Oh, isn't that where that musical Delphinium's Blue is playing? I want to see that.
Do you really?
Well, it won't be much help. Anybody could buy a theatre ticket, and she could have seen the show at any time, so we couldn't trip her up on the plot or well, anything like that.
So you think the London end is the false one?
I'd say the whole thing seems fairly weak. I think the girl simply went to Torquay, and this London thing is fake.
Yes, but after the theatre, she said she had supper with someone at the Savoy.
Peter Lemarchant.
Well, he's obviously the one we should talk to. What's he like?
Sight too thick with Una, if you ask me. He's an import-export. A bit on the flash side. Not really her sort at all.
With a splash?
Just a touch. Thank you.
Now then, what's this about Una?
We understand that you had supper with Miss Drake at the Savoy on Tuesday the 19th, Mr. Lemarchant.
Yes, I did. Soda?
No, thanks.
What's wrong with that?
We just wanted to check.
She's not in any kind of trouble, is she?
Oh, no, nothing at all, no. No, we're trying to verify the alibi of one of our clients, as a matter of fact. He says that he was at the Savoy that very same evening, but the only person he remembers noticing there is Miss Drake.
I see. So why don't you ask her about it herself?
Oh, much better to have it corroborated by a third party. Otherwise, we could never be sure she wasn't just saying it to help him.
Yes, of course. What fascinating work you do. Much more interesting than sitting in a dull office.
But business seems to be flourishing, Mr. Lemarchant.
I can't complain. It's a booming market for imports just now. I'm always on the lookout for bright people to join the firm.
Could you tell us something about Miss Drake?
What there is. She arrived here a couple of years ago. Very bright. Independent-minded, like many of these Australian girls seem to be. I met her at Sandown Races. Gambling's a passion of hers.
So we understand.
But her real interest is in the arts. She landed a job with Brush and Paint Pot, or whatever it's called, the art magazine.
Pen and palette.
Yes, that's the one. She's their features editor now. Doing nicely for herself.
You know her well?
And not as well as I'd like to, if you follow me. She never lets anyone get too close. Now, personally, I'm all for a little togetherness.
So you're quite sure Miss Drake was with you that evening?
Yes, I told you. What a suspicious lot you are. You think she might have asked me to say that?
Oh, not necessarily. But did anybody else see you both there together?
Some people called Oglander were sitting in the next table.
Do they know Miss Drake?
Oh, yes. They're not bosom friends or anything, but they know her. Look here, it is Una you're interested in, isn't it? She got some little game on.
Perhaps. Something quite harmless.
You never know what that kid's up to.
Do you happen to know where she'd been before she met you?
At some musical show, I believe. Yes, the one at the Duke's Theatre. She hadn't enjoyed it much. Come to think of it, there was something rather odd.
Yes?
I'd paid her some compliment. How attractive she was. What a pleasure to be with. And she said, what was it? You think I'm sitting here having supper with you. But really, I'm 200 miles away, in Devonshire. But the really funny thing was that a few days later, Dickie Rice told me he'd seen her before.
Dickie Rice?
Oh, just a friend. He'd been down visiting an aunt in Torquay, and he said, I saw that Australian girl there. I asked him, when was that? And he said, oh, Tuesday, about tea time. Naturally, I told him he must have been mistaken. But then I remember what she'd said. Now, wasn't that odd?
Now, from her own account, Una Drake caught the 12 o'clock train from London on Tuesday. She'd have arrived in Torquay just in time for tea.
And just in time to be seen by Dickie Rice. She books into the hotel, unpacks, and gets the next train back to London, arriving in time to see Peter Le Marchand at the Savoy.
Yes. Now, she could have caught the 4:40. It's a slow train, gets into Paddington at 9:10.
Well, there we are then.
Yeah, but after that, it gets rather more tricky.
How's that?
Well, there's a midnight train from Paddington down again, but that would have been too early. I suppose she could have always come down later by car.
It's getting on 200 miles.
Australians, I've been told, drive very recklessly.
Well, let's suppose then that she is a rarely fast driver. She could have got back before breakfast, say 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And supposing she did nip into bed at the Castle Hotel without being seen.
Or arrived there explaining that she'd been out all night, and could she have her bill, please?
Tommy, we're idiots. Well, she needn't have gone back to Torquay at all.
But she sent Jones the receipted bill.
Look, she need only have got a friend to go to the hotel, collect her luggage, settle up. Then she would have had a receipt with a proper date on it.
Nothing easier. Oh, well, that's it then. I think on the whole we've managed a very sound hypothesis. Well done, us.
You really think it could be that simple?
Well, the best answers usually are. The trick is how to spot them.
She also sent Monty her bill for lunch on the train.
Monty?
We could just see if she was actually on board.
Not a hope, my darling.
Why not?
Because the odds against these being the same dining car attendants, let alone this being the same train, are astronomical.
Oh, how disappointing.
Are we ready to order dinner, sir?
Yes. Salmon sounds nice.
Fresh today, miss. Scotch salmon.
And the roast beef?
Sirloin off the joints, just perfect, miss. And we offer a choice of roast or boiled potatoes, buttered carrots, peas, beans, and cauliflower.
No, I don't think we'll have anything.
Oh.
We'll dine at the other end. Just 2 gin fizzes, please.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. You don't by any chance happen to remember if this lady had lunch on the train Tuesday last?
Oh, yes, the young lady from Australia.
You remember her?
Oh, very clearly, sir. It's a good likeness.
You're sure it was Tuesday?
I couldn't really forget it, sir. She drew my attention to it herself. Would you like some more coffee, miss?
Yes, please.
Really sorry, miss. I nearly went on your dress.
Oh, it wouldn't have. Not today. Tuesday's the luckiest day of the week for me.
I'm really sorry, miss.
Don't give it another thought. I told you, Tuesday's lucky for me.
10 years in this business. That's the first time I nearly scolded someone. You wouldn't forget it, sir. I'll fetch your drink, sir.
Fancy his remembering.
Yes. An extraordinary piece of luck to land on the very attendants who served her.
And it isn't even Tuesday. At least we've established that she did go down to Torquay.
Yes, but since we know she was in London that evening, what we now have to discover is how she got back again in time.
Yes. Oh, Tommy. I'm famished.
Much better if we dine at the hotel. We can question the waiters discreetly. Kill two birds with one stone. You mean we're too late?
Well, out of season. Dinner's over at 9. I'm sorry.
Couldn't we have anything at all?
I could maybe ask the chambermaid to bring some sandwiches up to your room, if that would be all right.
Sandwich.
That'll do nicely, thank you.
If you'd like to sign the register, please, Mr. Blunt.
Oh, certainly. By the way, I understand you had a friend of ours staying on Tuesday, Miss Una Drake.
Oh, yes, I remember her. Australian, wasn't she?
This is a rather charming photograph of her, don't you think?
Why, yes, it is. It's caught her expression exactly.
Did she stay here long?
Only the one night. She caught the express the next morning back to London.
The next morning?
It did seem rather a long way to go, just for one night. Still, I imagine Australian ladies don't think anything of travelling such distances.
No. Well, she's a very adventurous girl. She's always setting off on adventures.
It was here, wasn't it, that she was invited out to dine with friends, went for a drive, drove her car into a ditch and didn't get back till morning?
Oh. No, Miss Drake had dinner here at the hotel.
Oh. Are you sure? I mean, how do you know?
Well, I saw her.
Really? I only asked because we understood that she had dined with some friends in Torquay.
Oh, no, sir. She had dinner here at the hotel. I remember because she wore the most sweet frock. I felt quite envious. It was black bugle-beaded chiffon with a skirt all over pansies.
Very stylish.
Yes, it was. Well, I'll fetch your keys, sir. I'll have your luggage sent up. And I'll see to the sandwiches. I'll take care of it myself.
That would be most kind.
Perhaps you should see the head waiter about Miss Drake. He should still be in the dining room, through the residence lounge. He's sure to remember her.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, madam. We're closed.
Yes, we know. But a friend of mine was staying here last Tuesday and said how ravishing the dining room was. Oh, perhaps you remember her. She was wearing a black bugle-beaded dress with a skirt all over pansies, I believe. This lady.
Oh, Miss Drake, yes. Australian.
So she did dine here?
Last Tuesday, we got talking.
Yes?
She asked me if there was anything to do afterwards in town.
Yes.
I told her the theatre, the pavilion.
So after dinner, she did go out?
No.
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 No, in the end, she decided not to. She stayed here listening to Mrs. Purvis on the piano. She plays Monday to Friday. Saturdays, we have the string ensemble.
You don't remember what time she came down for dinner?
Well, it was well after 8 o'clock. There was practically nobody else here.
And what time did she leave?
Oh, let me see. Sole goujons, fillet steak, marmalade tart, cheese and coffee. For a slip of a thing, she could surely tuck it away. Must have been well past 9. She didn't half liven things up, though. She had Mrs. Purvis playing Waltzing Matilda, and how she laughed. Oh, it did your heart good to hear it.
Damn curse and blast!
Doubled.
It's all going wrong, and it seems so clear and definite.
Well, we knew it wouldn't all be plain sailing.
Well, it's getting decidedly stormy, and I still haven't forgiven you for not letting us have dinner on the train. When I think of that fresh salmon and roast sirloin.
I've forgotten the hotel was out of season, that's all.
And then when we got here, you started making sheep's eyes at that giggling female in reception.
I did not.
Smarming over her.
That is quite uncalled for, Tuppence. And what about you?
Me?
Yes, you. Your friend, Monty, supposed to be devastated by this Drake girl. He couldn't keep his eyes off you.
That's different.
And there was Lamarchant, even worse. I mean, he was practically seducing you in front of my very eyes.
Ladies are used to such attentions. We do not encourage them.
Well, tell that to the receptionist. I'm sorry, darling. We're both tired and hungry.
And whose fault's that?
The point is, this whole investigation's going wrong.
Yes. I'm sorry, Tommy.
Yes. So am I. Where's that blasted chambermaid with our sandwiches?
Oh, she's our last hope. Isn't there any train that Unidrake could have got after 9 o'clock?
Not one that would have landed her in London in time to get to the Savoy. Uh-huh. That's most welcome.
Evening, sir. Evening, madam. Put it here, shall I?
Yes, that's fine.
There's ham, cheese and tomato, and sardine. Would you like me to pour?
No, thanks.
Oh, yes. Please. I wonder if you'd recognize this photograph of a friend of mine.
Afraid not, madam. I don't know the young lady.
How silly of me. I meant this one.
Oh, that's the young lady from Australia. She was in the room 2 doors along. She's a friend of yours, madam?
It's because of her we're here.
Fancy. She's very nice. Very friendly and talkative. That's a nice picture of her, that. Very nice.
So you talked to her?
Oh, quite a lot, sir. She was very interesting. That evening, Tuesday evening, I'd come in to turn down the bed.
Better hurry on or I'll be late for dinner.
You're all right, miss. It's just gone 8 o'clock.
Look, I wonder if you'd mind helping me. I can't quite... There. Thank you.
It's ever such a lovely dress, miss.
Oh, thank you.
You don't mind my asking, but you're not English, are you?
Not exactly, but I'm British, like gum trees and kangaroos. I was born in Melbourne in the state of Victoria, where Nellie Melba comes from.
The opera singer?
That's her, Dame Nellie. She took a name from there, Melba, from Melbourne.
Just fancy. Told me ever such a lot about Australia.
You didn't happen to see her later, though?
Well, yes, I did. Because she rang down about 10 for a hot water bottle. And then, the next morning, she asked for a call at 7:30 with coffee instead of tea. Now, I've worked here for 18 years, and it's very unusual, coffee. I suppose her being Australian.
And you did call her, and she was in bed.
Well, yes, Mum, of course.
Only, well, I just wondered if she was doing her exercises or anything. She often does first thing in the morning.
No, madam. I woke her. Will that be all?
More than enough. Thank you.
Good night, then.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, that just about tears it.
Into shreds. Oh, I don't even feel hungry anymore.
No. Nellie Melba? Waltzing Matilda? Tuesday's her lucky day. She's cocking a snook at us.
Oh, and Monty Jones, you mean?
Well, one thing's certain. She now spent Tuesday night here at the Castle Hotel.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Which makes your friend Peter Lemarchand the most accomplished liar I have ever met.
Yes. Though we've yet to check his story with the people at the table next door.
The Oglanders, yes. I bet she's banking on us not being able to find them.
Well, we certainly can't. Stuck down here. And there's not
There's
another
not train till morning.
I can't thank you both enough. I was rather afraid she'd baffled you. And we can prove beyond doubt that she was in Torquay.
Oh, yes, yes. She booked in person into the Castle Hotel at about 4:30, dined there, slept there, and did not leave until she caught the express back to town on Wednesday morning.
I say, and we can absolutely prove that she wasn't in London.
As soon as Albert returns from interviewing those people at the next table,
Oglanders.
Thank you, Miss Robinson, and confirms that Peter Lemarchand's story is a complete fabrication, the case will be closed.
Top hole. Do call me at once. The talk of the devil. Well, now I can scoot along and tell Una I have proof she spent the night in Torquay.
I wouldn't do that if I was you, sir.
Why not?
Because she was in London.
London?
London?
Without a doubt.
It's not possible. I mean, she couldn't be in two places at once, could she?
Oh, no!
Well, what are we going to do about it?
Well, I haven't the faintest idea.
I don't understand.
Neither do I, Mr. Jones. I think if you'll excuse us, we should have a professional conference.
Albert.
Yes, of course, but what am I to say to you now?
Oh, nothing for the moment. We'll be in touch.
I don't like to mention it, but your advertisement did say results in 24 hours.
We may have to apply for an extension. Good day. London?
I've just come from Mrs. Oglander. She spoke to Una Drake at 10:30 at Savoy, and she's certain she was still sitting with Peter Lemarchand at midnight.
But that's where we could prove that she was safely tucked up in bed at the Castle Hotel.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Oh, shut up.
It puts us right back where we started.
Further back. Because now we've verified both stories, we have nowhere left to turn.
There's just one chance. Marjorie Lester, Una Drake's flatmate.
If you talk to her, Mrs. B, won't you give the old game away?
Well, that's a risk we'll have to take.
I'll come with you.
Oh, better not, darling. It may call for the feminine touch.
So what did you find out?
As far as she's concerned, the Drake girl was there last Tuesday.
In their flat?
Slept there. And the other thing is that Una Drake does seem to be under some sort of strain.
I'm not surprised.
Well, somebody must be lying. But who?
The odd thing is, it strikes me that nobody was lying.
I know. They all seem so straightforward and truthful.
It is a physical impossibility for one person to be in two places at the same time. I suppose there's nothing in the theory of astral bodies.
Astral bodies? Oh, it couldn't be.
Tuppence?
I've just thought of something.
Well, out with it.
No, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to send a cable first. See you in a jiff, darling. Morning, Albert.
They missed.
Oh, what a beautiful day.
Is it? Where have you been all morning?
Out and about.
Chasing after astral bodies?
Yes, as a matter of fact, and finding one. Monty's gone to collect it. You'll see. I promise.
Well, if you're so clever, you can give me a hand with this.
Oh, you know I'm no good at crosswords.
Just try. 9 letters. The poet saw 10,000 of them.
Daffodils.
I beg your pardon?
10,000 saw I at a glance. A host of golden daffodils. Wordsworth.
I thought you weren't any good at crosswords.
No news of those stolen paintings, is there?
No, not yet. Good Lord.
What?
Stop press. The body of businessman Peter Lemarchand was found early this morning in his office in the city. death appears to have been caused by a blunt instrument. Police suspect foul play.
You don't suppose?
I'm trying not to.
Oh, it couldn't have anything to do with our case, could it?
No, but Una Drake could be very upset. I think if you're planning to spring something on her, it might be better to wait.
Oh, yes. Yes. But I think I better have another word with her flatmate.
You wanted to speak to Marjorie?
I'd hoped her.
I'm afraid she's not here.
When will she be back?
She won't be. She doesn't live here anymore.
She doesn't.
Well, it's a small apartment and it's mine. We've been discussing it for some time. She decided to move out.
Well, it's just that she didn't mention it yesterday.
You're the reporter who called?
Yes. I also called last Tuesday.
Well, you wouldn't have caught me. I spent the night in Torquay.
But Marjorie said that you were here.
She was mistaken.
But she said she saw you in bed in the morning.
Well, you know how it is. When you expect to see something, you see it. She probably saw an unmade bed and assumed I was in it. Not that it matters.
No, of course not, Miss Drake.
Well, Miss...
Robinson.
Robinson. How can I help you?
I'm writing an article on women in the professions for Society Illustrated. And, well, as Marjorie's unavailable, perhaps you could help me. As an editor of an arts magazine, and notable in London society, I'm sure my readers would find it fascinating, Miss Drake.
I see. Well, I'm afraid it's only a very small magazine, and I'm only in the outer fringes of society. Your readers may not find my life too glamorous.
Naturally, I don't want to disturb you so soon after the death of your friend, Peter Le Marchand.
Peter Le Marchand? Yes, it was a shock. We weren't really close friends. I hadn't seen him for several weeks. But it was upsetting. Look, I'm sure you'll understand. I don't feel like giving an interview just now.
I quite understand.
Well, I wish I did. You mean she now denies being in London at all on Tuesday?
Yes. She claimed she was in Torquay.
But why go to the length of setting up 2 elaborate alibis and then throw one away?
I know. And why is she so desperate now to prove that she wasn't with Peter Le Marchand last Tuesday?
And nothing happened to him last Tuesday.
I know.
Sorry about this, Gov.
I called the Press Association as soon as you'd gone. There's no such paper as Society Illustrated, so I decided to follow you.
Oh, Miss Drake.
You two have been hired by that idiot Monty Jones, haven't you?
There seems little point in denying it, Miss Drake.
I might have expected him to go running for help. Well, you can tell him the bet's off.
I can appreciate how you feel.
I doubt it. And I'd appreciate it if you and Monty would stay out of my affairs from now on.
Just for the record, Miss Drake, which of the alibis was the true one?
Torquay. But it's of no importance now.
It is important, Miss Drake, because you're lying and we want to know why.
How dare you?
You were in London. I can prove it.
What proof? Nothing but circumstantial evidence and hearsay.
Oh, no, something a little more positive than that. Why don't you want anyone to know that you were with Peter Le Marchand that evening?
You're bluffing.
I assure you we're not.
It would be better for you if you weren't so clever. I warn both of you to stay out of my affairs.
Give me the gun. You're not going to use it.
Don't be so sure.
You won't use it because that would be foolish. And you're not a fool.
Get back over there.
Shooting us won't do any good, you know. You've lost the bet.
You're the only one that knows that. I'm in so far already.
She's on her way here.
I don't believe you.
She'll be here any minute.
Well, that's a chance I'll have to take. Don't answer.
Una, I brought...
Vera! Una! Are you all right? What are you doing here? You were to stay away. You've spoiled everything. Oh, I was worried about you. They said you're in trouble.
You'd better let me have that. Astral bodies. Gemini. Twins.
Don't cry, it's all right.
When she got off the Channel steamer, I couldn't believe it.
It was the only thing left. That cable I sent to Melbourne, the answer I received was that Una Drake's twin sister Vera arrived in London last Monday.
And Vera was the one in Torquay.
Una had to stay in London because she was known. Vera agreed to help her and then left for Italy the next day to go on with her tour.
But how did you know where to find her?
Luckily, she'd left a forwarding address at Australia House. And I phoned the consul in Rome.
Look, will someone tell me what's going on? What's wrong?
We were hoping that your sister would tell us that, Vera. We'd like to be able to help her.
No one can.
Is it something to do with Peter Le Marchal?
I thought I loved him. It was partly because of him I wanted to be rid of Monty, so I set up the alibis. I knew Vera was coming over and she would join in. I didn't think anyone could solve them.
But today you tried to pretend that you hadn't seen Peter Le Marchal for some time.
Was it because you were afraid? Were you with him last night?
Yes, I saw him. I went to his office. We had an argument. I killed him. Una!
You'd better tell us about it.
I had gambling debts. I'd hit a losing streak and plunged deeper trying to settle them. I couldn't clear them up. And then Peter said he could suggest a way for us both to make money with no risk.
Something criminal.
I have many contacts in museums and art galleries. I was to check out their security and tell him of any objects of special value. He would arrange to have them stolen and export them to buyers abroad.
But you didn't let yourself get involved in something like that.
Yes. Oh, Una.
The paintings from the Wordsworth Gallery.
That was to be the last. I was only doing it because I was desperate. The Herrick paintings were the most valuable we'd ever handled, and with my share I could pay off the bookmakers and be free of them for good. But I couldn't get my share out of Peter. He always made an excuse for not seeing me. But last night I knew he was working late. So I went to his office.
Una, who let you in?
Peter, I can't wait any longer.
You're going to have to, my dear.
I must have that money.
Do you think I keep a mounts like that in the office?
Peter, I'm nearly frantic.
You could do with a drink. It's not like you to be so emotional.
Some of the bookies have started threatening me.
They won't wait forever. We ought to start planning our next job.
I told you, I'm finished with that.
Don't be crazy. How else are you going to make that kind of money?
Oh, I only did it to get myself out of this mess. I hated myself for it. I can't go on with it.
You're serious. That's a pity. Well, I could let you have maybe £500.
I need more than that.
Better take it.
What do you mean?
That's your share.
But you got over 30,000 for those paintings. I'm in for a third of that.
You were in, but now, unless you change your mind about the next job, that's all I'm prepared to give you.
Peter.
Perhaps it's as well we're splitting up. I don't like private detectives coming round here asking questions about you.
Oh, I explained that. Monty must have hired them.
You know something? You played this all wrong. Instead of cooking up that alibi business to get rid of him, you should have asked him for the money.
Asked him?
He'd have settled your debts. He's stupid enough.
How can you even suggest such a thing? I thought you cared about me.
You were useful. And you're pretty.
I was useful to you. That's all you wanted me for. Well, all right, it's over. But I'm not leaving here until you hand over what you owe me.
Or what? You'll go to the police? You'd better take the 500 before I change my mind and throw you out. You... Now get out. And you'll keep your mouth shut if you know what's good for you.
Peter? Oh. Peter. Peter. Una? Oh, you hurt her? She didn't mean it. It was an accident.
Are you going to call the police?
I'm afraid we have to. I'm sorry, Vera. Tuppence, will you take them into your office?
Yes.
You can sit with her until they arrive.
Thank you.
She'll get off, won't she?
Possibly, if she tells it like that.
She'll still have to stand trial for the arts theft. She'll need a good lawyer.
I'll make sure she has the best there is.
It's very decent of you, Mr. Jones.
Well, I mean, I know she probably still won't look at me, but... Is there anything else one can do?
Yes. Perhaps you'll get rid of this. I don't think we need mention it.
You're pretty decent too, Mr. Blunt.
Well,
Quite by chance, we seem to have solved 3 cases at once.
dear sir, is this a record? Tommy, have you realized that we'll be offered the reward from the art gallery?
It has occurred to me.
Hardly seems right. After all, it just fell into our laps.
I suppose we could always give it back.
Oh, certainly not. I can think of all sorts of things we can do with it.
How about a weekend in Torquay?